Welcome to another episode of Skinny Black's Lounge, where we provide the space for authentic black male lens on life, where the barbershop meets the library meets personal development. And so we got a special guest here today. We got our man, Dr. Taj Eldridge. Yes, sir. Give it up, get some claps.
Yeah. So, Fall 93 in the house.
There it is, Fall 93. What's up? So, hey, we got some questions, but before we dive straight into all the questions, Taj, what do you want the people to know about you?
Yeah, well, number one, happy to be here. What's interesting is that my line name was Skinny Pimp, so I am definitely in the space. I am no longer Skinny Pimp. I'm full size pimp, but it's still all good. But I joke with that because I think one of the things that's missing is authenticity, and authenticity in our people. And even though I have a doctorate degree, I'm in finance, I'm still the same way here that I am in the house. And I think that. A lot of us, we lose that and not realizing that our culture is what's driving Clubhouse, Venmo, Cash App, Twitter, all that stuff. And so we need to monetize that, and that's it. But I'm a venture capitalist. We can talk about that and get into that.
Absolutely.
We have a $250 million fund to invest in black and brown only fund managers. And then prior to that, I was in clean tech with the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator located in downtown. In a space that we all need to take advantage of, and we can get into that later as well. Grew up in Texas, so Southern boy like my boy Rob, and of course, member of our noble clan of Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yes, sir. Cool. So again, we had let Taj start off with the introductions. I'm Skinny Black. Rob to my left.
JT. Period is silent. Hi, Mom.
And actually, off camera. We have Lebo.
A ghost.
He's still a ghost. So let's hop into it. So I like what you said, man, about us driving the culture.
Yeah.
But let's back up a little bit, man. Tell us about some of the business. I mean, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the stuff that you started.
Yeah. Well, I want to preface this and say that a lot of times I hear in our community, I always hear like, I want to own my own stuff. I don't want to work for nobody. I think that's bullshit, because at the end of the day, you always working for somebody, either your customer, your wife, whatever, God, whoever you're looking at. The key to it, though, is that being in control of what you own and ownership. And even when you're working with somebody, I never like to use the phrase working for somebody. I like working with. You can own your intellectual property, what you create. So for me, I started out in banking. I was at Wells Fargo for a decade, and then went to UBS Investment Bank, did an MBA at Pepperdine, and then the PhD program at Claremont before going to a private equity fund. And that's when I first started learning about like venture capital. And actually, the way I learned about all this stuff was through one of our frat brothers, Reginald Lewis, who wrote a book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?
Yeah.
And that was like the first time I heard about venture capital, right? And so from that standpoint, the first couple of investments that I made failed miserably, lost a lot of money. My wife was super pissed. And but then I ended up having one that kind of took off that was in the political space. They got acquired, which means another company purchased them. And then another company I worked with, same thing happened with them. They were acquired by a company from the Netherlands. But Rob, to your point, the companies I've been involved in, invested in, have been from the clothing side. I was an equity partner and CEO of a company called Boswell that most people may remember as dressing Andrew Wiggins when he got drafted, LeBron James, the late Kobe Bryant. I used to say we dressed everybody except for my man Russell Westbrook. I was part of a company that dealt in the wine space that was really kind of making, culture to wine. If you remember, at one point, everybody was on craft beer. Craft beer was like making it, and wine was steadily tanking. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ciroc and the spirits always been in the culture, and wine never really got that. And so we created a company that was focusing on bridging that culture with wine. And now you see and even though E40 has been doing it, E40 has a nasty meaning good wine out that's really making it. Now you're seeing a lot of people like John Legend, Nas get into the wine space. And then in 2015, I led the accelerator in Riverside, UC Riverside, where I brought Rob at as actually one of my first speakers. And what was interesting is that we made Riverside the number 4 place in the nation for Black and brown entrepreneurs, because we really understood how to disseminate information similar to what you guys do here, and access, right? Access is key. And then 2018, I went to the Clean Tech Incubator, which is in Los Angeles. But from an investment standpoint, I'm an investor in companies such as Bevy, which is like the Zoom for conferences. I'm a new investor in a company called Black Power. They just raised $63 million, Black-owned company. I'm an investor in a company called Kidget, which does, KIGT does charging stations. So if you have an electric vehicle, he's the first and only Black-owned charging station that's out there. So that's important. It's important to know, because as we're making a transition from gas vehicles to electric vehicles, when you go get gas, who typically owns those facilities? They don't look like us, right? So this is an opportunity for us to own in that transition, right? And so that's what I'm all about. That's why I'm talking about ownership and how to figure it out.
Dope. I mean, thanks for telling me about Gidget, man, because we're definitely, our next vehicle will definitely be EV.
Yeah.
So
they got some hot ones out there, man. I mean,
man,
Tesla's not the only thing on the market, bro. We got to look at Canoe, which is LA based. You look at Rivian, which looks like a nasty looking Land Rover. There's a lot of good ones coming out there.
What's that? Is it Lumens or?
Yeah.
It's like a high end when I was just watching on TV.
Yeah,
They're competing with like the Maybachs and all those.
Yeah, it's a lot that's coming out. I mean, even Hummer came out with an electric vehicle. You know, so it's getting there.
Yeah, well, yeah, GM is in the next year or two, they're gonna have an entire line of electric vehicles for everything they have right now.
Volkswagen is turning to Volkswagen. I did it jokingly, but they're making a whole, similar to GM, a whole line coming out. BMW has already done it. I mean, a lot of OEMs, are doing it. I think, from a standpoint of what makes a good investment, as you look and see the market goes to that, the political side going to it as well, right? Because the governor has already said by 2035, all new vehicles in California have to be electric. Same thing has happened in New Jersey, and Connecticut is about to join in as well.
So, man, you talked a lot about. Oh, and thank you. Good looking out on the wine hookups when our boy Prentice. Did Uncork. Man.
Oh yeah,
you came through with some good connects on that.
And that was the reason I did it. Being in the wine space, knowing that culture drives. That's why I was so happy to see Brother Penny do that film. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't know that we are deep in wine. There's Black-owned wineries like the Brown Family Estates is out there. And like we're the ladies are drinking Moscato like it's crazy. Pink rosé is in no lips.
Like it's sugar water.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool, man. So how did you get started, man? So it's a lot of cats out there saying well, let's break out two specific things.
Yeah. People
start businesses and call themselves entrepreneurs and not really know what business means. So I've made that mistake myself. I started a business of consulting and coaching. Yeah. But really, can I walk away from it and it still make money? Yeah. Right now, I'm still in it right now. So we need to get clear about what we mean about business and entrepreneurship. And so how'd you get started?
Yeah. Well, first let me add this other piece of vocabulary: entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. Do you guys realize how Hot Cheetos was created? No. So this cat that worked as a janitor for Frito-Lay, Mexican cat here in Rancho Cucamonga. If you ever had elote, right? Elote is the Mexican spice corn, which I love, right? He
I just gonna put the mayonnaise on mine.
Oh, absolutely, crema, right? Let's go and make it Afro-Latino style. But he was at the shop and one of the machines didn't flavor the Cheeto. So he's like, "Yo, can I take these bags home?" And they were like, "Oh, go ahead." And he took the bags home. He put the same flavoring that he did, that you typically do with elote. Created Flamin' Hot Cheetos. He brought it back and he was like, "Yo, like this good." And the guys were like, the executives were like, "Yo, like why don't you present it?" He had no idea about he was a janitor. So what he did was, again, free game that we always miss. He went to the library and looked up how to make a business presentation. He ended up making a business presentation, became an entrepreneur because he created this product line, ended up making a good amount of money, still working at Frito-Lay, and now he's like some exec. Well, he's retired now, but at the time he became some executive for Pepsi-Cola because Pepsi owned Frito-Lay, right? And so the whole point of the story is that whether or not we're entrepreneurs kind of going on ourselves and making a lot of risk, or entrepreneurs, the whole idea is about intellectual ownership, right? Same thing with the handheld, the Game Boy. Same situation, Game Boy. The guy who designed Game Boy was a janitor. So shout out to the janitors out there, man, because yo, the whole idea is that talent is universal, but opportunity is not, and that's what we got to do. But back to me, like you know, I grew up in I'll be honest, I grew up in an area where you do two things: you either hoop or you rap. And
well, there's a third thing you probably didn't.
Yeah, well, I was going to kind of keep it PG, but let's go there because I have some cousins do it. They were slanging, right, which was entrepreneurship. They understood it, and a lot of my relatives were Bloods in Texas because you know I know we're here in California, but there's something back in the day they're talking about banging in Little Rock, and bro, the gangs in the South went hard. You know, they had a lot to prove, so. You know, all of them didn't really want me to get in trouble, but what I peeped was how they managed their business selling dope. I peeped, and it's interesting. We joke about the corner boys selling dope. I equate that to the VCs that are out there. They're slanging these safe notes. They're slanging these documents, right, to get people to sign it. But I think for me, I was a poetry major in undergrad because I wanted to rap, and I figured, well, you know, if I'm gonna rap, I need to understand poetry. And my dad was like, I don't give a shit. You gotta go to school, you know. So I didn't really get into entrepreneurship until like after seeing it as a banker, right, and really kind of looking at it. And I think for me, my first business was a guy that was doing this back when Blackberries was around, like this online therapy situation called iListen, prior to even the iPhone. And it's so interesting. We were too much ahead, but we didn't really have the format, right? And so I wish now would have held on to it now that everything's you know. But I think for me it was a learning process. It was a learning process of looking at people. It was a learning process of failing. I think we don't allow ourselves to fail as people of color when we're building businesses, because failure. I don't look at L's as losses. I look at L's as learnings.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of time we're like, like I can't fail. Like we're so used to like always having to succeed, not realizing there is a lesson in that journey. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's been my pathway.
Well, you know, I always talk about with clients. We talk about progress over perfection. So just stay moving, stay in motion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.